Hey, good day and welcome back to Max and Abe Horsemanship again today. And as you can see, we got a horse in here, but we're not going to show you too much. We'll show you a tiny bit, but not a lot because, well, there's just not a whole lot to show you right now. But I do want to talk about a couple of recent videos, and including the last one. Now, just before I get into talking about my last couple videos, I want to do a short rant on YouTube here. I didn't think things could get any worse. I was wrong. It has gotten worse. It has actually gotten worse. I couldn't believe it. Well, you see, I actually have a second channel. This isn't my only channel. I have a second channel. And I think that recently they've figured out that that channel and this one are owned by the same person, and they've started attacking that one too now, because what leads me to believe that is, well, the long and short of it is, it's got less than, well, 1,000 less subscribers than this channel, so not even near enough to pay even if I had enough views. What do you want? Anyhow, but typically I would get a reasonable number of views on my videos, and usually in the thousands on some of them, high hundreds at least on poor videos, but I had several that are in the thousands. But I uploaded one not long ago and it got 5 views. Now, how do you go from thousands to 5? I don't understand that. I can see, good and bad videos. I expect the views to go up and down a bit, but that was just ridiculous. That doesn't just happen. Well, that was one of the things, and the other thing that I realized was going on, it took me a while to catch on to because it wasn't something that bothered me a whole lot, and I didn't notice it right away, was normally if somebody makes a comment on one of your videos, or you make a comment on somebody else's video, and then in turn somebody else makes a comment, not only do you get notifications, but you usually get an email as well. I haven't gotten any of those emails. I don't get them anymore. I used to. Don't get those emails anymore. So, in fact, things have actually got worse. Oh well. So, today I want to talk about, well, I'll start with my last video where I put a bit in this horse's mouth. And I put a bridle on her for the first time ever. Now, I didn't really show you much, but at the end of the video I did mention that she actually would respond to that bit in the reins. She'd back turn and all that good stuff. And, well, I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, you know what, I'll bet you there are 2 different trains of thought going on right now when people watch that video. And I strongly encourage you to go back and watch that one again too, because it wasn't just putting the bridle on. There was a lot of different steps involved in doing it, and I want you to catch all of them. But I want to show you something else too, because I figure there's 2 things people are thinking is, first off, either they just figure I'm full of it. That was absolutely not the first time for her to be that good. The other one is that maybe they're just as confused and wondering, how the heck did that ever work? I'm going to explain how it worked. It works by all of the things that we've been doing. It didn't, I was impressed that it worked as well as it did, but it didn't surprise me because we've been working up to that. Now, even within the steps that I took, putting the bridle on, because I've showed you before when I played with her mouth and I've played with her ears, stuff. So, and she's had ropes and straps around her face and everything. So a lot of that stuff, she's already ready. So we'd worked on a lot of stuff, but the whole steering thing, the fact that she responded so well to the bit, probably baffles a few of you, if not thinking that it was not the first time. No, it absolutely was the very first time she'd ever had a bit in her mouth. But the reason it worked is because of everything we've been doing. I said everything's connected, and we work up to things, doing things in order. And one of many things, I'm going to give you a simple example. I could show you a lot of different things that we've done that kind of work up to that. But I'll show you one. I showed you flexing, how that works. How you just pick up the rein and the horse turns its head. Very little pressure needed. Oh, she's being stubborn. I did this. There we go. Very good. See, that when she feels that sideways pressure with a bit in her mouth and reins, she's going to respond the same way. That's why I said when you're doing this stuff that you're actually working on the stopping, the backing, and the steering. Now she's being difficult. Is she going to do it? It's not. I'm not holding on tight. It's only a tiny bit of pressure. There we go. The lead is slack. There we go. Good girl. And that is why she responded to that bit. Now I want to talk about, because that was the last video I want to talk about. Then I want to talk about another one a little while ago I did, where I talked about doing things in order, and how before you ever try riding a horse that you should be able to pick up all 4 feet. Now I'm not saying it can't be done any other way. Clearly it has been, and I've seen it done. And I did get some confirmation, because I mentioned some other videos I'd been watching with another horse, and I didn't think he'd actually gotten to the back ones yet, and he posted another video, and in fact he clarified that no, he has not gotten to that. He could pick up the front ones fairly good. He demonstrated that, but when it came to the back ones, he had a lead rope that was probably longer than this one, and he used that to loop under the hoof and pick it up, because she's still kicky. Now, I don't think it was a good idea to get on a horse like that. And for any of you that, well, probably most of you that are watching these videos, you're not going to be as skilled as he was. And I would say definitely don't ever do that, because you'll probably wind up getting hurt. Things will go wrong. But he was a very experienced horseman. He worked with quite a few horses, and he knew what to watch for and how to address things and help the horse along, so that it was actually possible to get on that horse, even though he couldn't pick up the feet yet. But I started thinking about it afterwards and thinking, you know what, there's still a little hidden gem in there, a little advantage to what he was doing that actually might be a good thing in the end. Now, a few videos ago I also talked about leading by hind legs, so that if your horse ever gets caught up in something, it's not going to panic and end up hurting itself. And by using his lead rope and making a loop to pick up the feet, he was actually inadvertently, probably without realizing he was doing it, he was creating a similar scenario where he was using that rope to pick up the feet. That was actually very similar in a way to leading by hind foot. The horse was getting used to the pressure on its back leg. So in the end, if that horse ever gets tangled up in a fence or something, she's probably going to do okay. But I want to talk about why I think that you should be able to pick up all 4 feet. And there's actually 2 reasons for this, and I'm going to explain them both. One not as important as the other, but it could be. We'll see. See, I think before you ride a horse, any horse, you should be able to pick up all 4 feet. And I think before you go riding on any horse, you should pick up all 4 feet and clean them. Now, I'm not going to say I've never forgotten to do that. I'd be a lie. And, you know, it's not the end of the world if you don't do it. But I'll give you a little scenario here. If, for example, the horse has got a little stone embedded in the foot there that you don't really see for all the junk on the bottom there, you know, running around in the pasture on its own might be no big deal. However, if with the extra, you know, weighted saddle and rider, you know, an extra couple 100 pounds on its back, and then you're actually asking it to do some very specific maneuvers that it might not normally do, it may at some point end up shifting weight onto that foot in a fashion that would cause it some discomfort. Well, at that point, the horse might jump, it might rear, it might buck, who knows, you know, something bad might happen. And it'll associate that discomfort with being ridden. You don't want that. So it's not an absolute necessity that it has to be done, but a very, very good idea that before you ride, you pick up all 4 feet and clean them. And that way, you put the odds in your favor. It's good etiquette. That's something that a good horseman should always do. Anybody that rides a horse, before you go riding, should always, always pick up all 4 feet and clean them. Now, that's one of the reasons. And the other reason I talked a little bit about before in that other video, it's got to do with the temperament of the horse. It's more of a tell than anything, is if that horse is so worried that you can't pick up all 4 feet safely, it's probably too worried to be riding. And that's, you know, something I've said many times, and I've seen any horse where there has been a problem with the feet, there's also been a problem in the riding. The horse is just a little too worried about things. It's not comfortable. And, well, eventually bad things happen, and you don't want that. Because if one thing will upset it, something else might too. You know, maybe it's going to be somebody's garbage bag hanging in, caught in a tree from the wind or flapping around, gets it excited. Maybe it's a piece of trash blowing across the ground in front of it. All these different things that could get it all upset. And if you can get the horse to the point where you can safely pick up all 4 feet without incident, and the horse doesn't freak out, and it's standing here basically like this, where you're not even hanging on to a lead, and you can do that, chances are your ride is going to be a lot more successful. There's no there's still no guarantees that nothing can go wrong. I've seen it happen, where things have gone wrong, even with all the proper prep work done and everything done in order. Things can still go wrong. So always be prepared. Expect the possibility of something like that happening. But just remember that, you're stacking the odds in your favor. If you can actually pick up all 4 feet, and the horse doesn't get worried. And here we go. Let's see if we can pick one up. Oh, what a good girl. Look at that. She doesn't even move. You see, I'm not holding on to the lead. See, it's right here. And I can easily pick up her feet. So I think by the time that we get on her, the odds are much, much better that we're not going to have a problem. And of course, we've already figured out too that her steering works. She backs up. She has brakes. All the stuff is in place for riding, even though we haven't ridden her yet. But that's the way I like to do things. I like to teach the horse as much as possible about riding before we ride, so that the day that we actually get on her back, it's not a real sensory overload for her. There's not a whole bunch of new stuff happening, because she's going to be pretty much prepared for everything. And I'm not going to ask her anything that she doesn't already know. I'm just asking it from a different place. I'm up in the saddle instead of down on the ground. That's the only difference. Other than that, I'm not going to ask her anything at all that she doesn't already know. And that's also things like she's already going to know how to do a side pass for me. She's going to know how to disengage and turn, and she's going to know all of this stuff before I ever get on her. And most of it she already knows, including things that you might not even realize she knows. Yeah. So all the stuff that we're doing, it all works up to, it's got a purpose. I always say that I don't do anything without a reason. Everything I do has a reason. And so I'm explaining some of those reasons now. And well, I think it's time to turn the camera off and actually spend a little time with her. She's been such a good little girl. And actually, I don't know I want to do that much with her, because she really doesn't need a whole lot right at the moment. There's probably a few things we could do, but nothing serious. There's the other one right there. You can't see. She's the one I want to get in here for sure. We definitely need to do some work with that one. This one, I don't think so much. I think she's going to be okay, but we're still going to have to be very careful when the first couple of rides. Initially, I'm going to start off in here in a confined space, because that would be the smart thing to do, just because it's available. Taking her out in the yard, this one in particular, I'm a little concerned about that, because I've walked her around the yard and she's gotten way better. I've even taken her out as far as the road and down the road a tiny bit. But I think I should probably be doing that a little bit more with her, because she still gets a little worried about strange places and things. And I don't think that's a good thing. We should work on that a little bit more before we actually try getting on her. The other one, well, she's weird. I can walk her around the yard and she doesn't care, but she's getting excited about the saddle, and every time I pull out a flag, even to this date, I've done it quite a few times since you've last seen her with the saddle on. Been quite a few times I've worked with her, and every single time I pull that flag out, she gets a little worried about it. So clearly we got to keep doing it. She gets over it fairly quick initially, but the very next time when I pull it out again, same, it's like starting all over every single time. I don't have an answer for that one, but I'm just going to keep doing what I know needs to be done, and hopefully someday we're going to get to the point where we can throw a saddle on and trot her around in here without a problem. This one here, she's no problem, but there's other things she doesn't like, so they all have their set problems. Anyhow, hope that helps you out a little. I just thought I'd elaborate a little bit more on some of the previous videos you've seen, that things I've shown you, things I've talked about, and hopefully I'll give you a little more insight on them. The fact that she responded to the reins the very first time she had a bit in her mouth really isn't a surprise. I was impressed. I was pretty happy about it, but I really wasn't surprised. I almost expected it. And a lot of you wouldn't be because you don't understand this kind of stuff. But like I said, everything that we've been doing leads up to that. And that's why I try to get it through your head that all this stuff is connected. It all goes together. And you need to make it all work before any of it works. In the meantime, you have yourselves a great day. Go play with your horses. And see you on the next one. Bye now.